So, good afternoon, guys. Today is the day before Memorial Day 2024. In here in one of the breeding compartments. These are experimental pairs, strictly untested breeders. You've been in here before. Today I want to talk a little bit about goal setting in breeding. And some of you know I've got a pretty unique background in animal breeding. My mother's side of the family, we've been at it since about, just that I know of, since about 1710 that we know of. And we've bred canaries and cattle and rabbits and poultry and exhibition dogs and lots of other animals to various ideals. And my late aunt was a very, very good dog breeder who unfortunately died long before her time, unfortunately from cancer when she was in her late 60s. She didn't have any bad life habits or anything. So it was a really unfortunate situation. She didn't drink, smoke, drive fast, anything like that. So, I mean, she really should have had many, many years left, and she unfortunately didn't. But she was an exceptional dog breeder. She exported dogs to Europe when I was a kid and had, at that time, some of the winningest dogs in Europe, the ones she sent over. And she also had some of the winningest dogs in this country, including right near the end. She had the number one dog in the country. She had the number one brood bitch of all time. She had the number two brood bitch of all time. And she won the Westminster Kennel Club show. And that wasn't all of her goals, but she accomplished, kind of at the end, her goals. And that's what I want to really talk about, is goal setting. And goal setting is really, really important. You have to, as far as animal breeding, and it's true whether you're breeding pigeons or you're breeding dogs, cows, quail, rabbits, chickens, doesn't matter. You can also apply it equally to your life and your job and other things like that. Now, my aunt had a really unique goal as a dog breeder. Her goal, as she once explained it to me, she called it the 100-year goal. Her goal was to improve her breed to the extent that her impact would be felt for 100 years after she was gone. It's a pretty lofty goal if you think about it. To want to be able to have a positive impact on your breed of choice, regardless of what it is, and have a positive impact for a century. Just think about that for a second. Now, a lot of people in life, whether it's breeding pigeons or whatever, they actually don't have goals. If you ask them what they hope to accomplish, they just say, I want to be successful. And I would challenge you to define success. In pigeon racing, most people define success as they want to win. If you define success in your job, you would say, I want to make a lot of money. That's how most people would define it. But that's not really success. If you think about success, it's not really like that. A lot of people are at the top of their breed and they're not very happy, or they make a lot of money at their job and they're not very happy, and they wouldn't really call themselves successful. Later, old Nightingale, who was a self-improvement expert going back many years in the 1960s, he once defined success as the pursuit and realization of a worthy ideal. And I really like that, especially from the standpoint of animal breeding. The pursuit of a worthy ideal. And that is what we do as animal breeders, is we pursue an ideal. Now, if you think of success that way, that's very much in line with what my aunt thought about breeding dogs. Was a very, very lofty ideal to improve her breed. And one of the problems with goal setting, if you don't have any, you're kind of like a ship without a captain. Or worse, it's a ship without a captain and a map and a destination and all of those things. And if you were to just turn a ship loose out of a harbor without a captain and without a port in mind, it'd be lucky to get out of the port, let alone to reach its destination, because nobody really knows where the destination is. Chances are, if it was a ship, it would just drift along on the high sea and it would wind up a derelict on some beach somewhere. And breeding animals is kind of like that, or going through life, other things you might pursue, your job, your relationships, whatever. You can apply this to anything. It's really important to figure out what your goals are. Now, some people, when they set goals, they say, well, I want to win a lot of races, and I want to win some one-off races. But is that really a goal you can technically pursue as an organized goal? It's kind of very loose if you think about it. It's really not well defined. And it's really important to define what it is you hope to accomplish. Now, a better idea of a goal, if you were racing pigeons, a really worthy goal would be to say that I want the fastest pigeons in the world. And you can actually set parameters to reach that goal. A little warm out here. You can see he's a little thirsty. About 80 degrees out here. But if you think of it in those terms, I wish to have the fastest pigeons in the world. That is a pretty worthy goal. And you can actually set a parameter on it as far as, how you select your birds. You could also choose them. I wish them to be a certain color. It's well defined. Or I wish my pigeons to be consistent. A lot of people go through life and they race pigeons, or they do other things, or they fly pigeons, or they breed them for exhibition, and they get a little success. They win every now and then. But that's not really that really shouldn't be the goal. The goal really should be to achieve the things that would create the goal, that would reach the goal. So, for example, I want the fastest pigeons in the world as a goal. Or I want pigeons with the most endurance in the world. Goals like that. Now, chances are when you start to attain those goals, you're gonna get some wins. In fact, you're probably going to win a lot. If you are able to develop the bloodline of birds that were super fast, because that's what you cultivated them for, because those were your breeding goals, you'd win plenty. You would win plenty. So, needless to say, that's something to really keep in mind is, what are you breeding for? Is it just to win? Because I tell you what, if it's vague like that, you're probably not going to really get to where you want to get, because it's too vague. And I recommend when you set goals, you got to write it down, man. You need to write it down every day, what it is you hope to accomplish. You need to look at it every day, and you need to think about it every day. Going back to Earl Nightingale, he said, we become what we think about the most. And I'll tell you what, he is absolutely true. I don't want to say lucky, because it's not luck. I've been very fortunate and blessed. I've done very well as an animal breeder. This is, going to be my second year racing coming up next year. But I flew rovers for a long time. I did a lot of exhibiting birds of various breeds. I had Everything from winners of small show, small little lawn shows, up to the NPA National, and won champion, best of show, things of that nature. I even had one show that where a friend pulled me aside at the end and he said, "You don't seem very happy." And I was a little bit not happy because I'd won best fancy, best sporting, best utility, best rare, and I won best in show. But I was miffed that I didn't win reserve in show. And he said, "Man, what's wrong with you?" Sometimes you can take it to be a bit, sometimes you can go a bit much. So don't take it seriously, but don't take it too seriously. Don't beat up on yourself when you don't win everything. Because you're not going to win all the time. Winning is an intentional act when it comes down to it at the end of the day. Said my great-grandfather, who was, in his day, he was the leading dairy breeder in the world. And that's what he used to tell me when I was a kid. He used to say, winning is an intentional act. And in doing so, that means you went through the processes of what you needed to do to win. And by extension, therefore, it was intentional, not luck. And you can apply that to your pigeons, or you can apply it to chickens, or you can apply it to rabbits, or dogs, or horses, or cows, or you can apply it to your job if you want. Like I said, I've been very blessed, in addition to doing well as a breeder in poultry and pigeons and game birds and other animals. That Westminster champion that my aunt had, I bred the grandmother of that dog. Because I did dabble a little bit in breeding dogs, because pretty much in anything that was you could breed, I was interested. But like I said, it's an intentional act. If you look at it that way, you figure out how you get from point A to point B. And in doing so, you've got to have a guideline. You really do. You really need to, like that ship leaving the harbor, create a roadmap. Where is it you want to go? And think about it every day. Do research on it. Do whatever it is you need to do. I got somebody coughing over here. I need to check them out. But think about it every day and figure out not only what is it you need to get there, most importantly, what is the goal? I'll tell you what, go back to Earl Nightingale. He actually had a statistic. He said that he had actually polled people, and he said only 1 in 20 people really knew what it was they wanted. And I think a lot of it is most people, they're really afraid to say what it is they want because it'll sound ridiculous and embarrass themselves to their friends, because it may be ridiculous on the surface. But if you set your goals really high and write them down and take them out every day and look at them, you're going to, even if you never actually reach it because you set the goal so high, you're going to reach a pretty high pinnacle. If you come out and say, I want the fastest pigeons in the world, and that's not personally my goal. That's not the goal I set. I'm not going to discuss mine, because going back to that, I don't think you should, unless you're just going to share what your goals are in general to help other people. But if you set the goal really, really high, to the extreme, even if you never reach it, if you work on it and work on it and work on it and work on it, you're probably gonna, even if you just fall short, you're really gonna be at the top. You really will be. So that's kind of what I wanted to discuss today. Kind of want, when you shoot videos like this, talking about this, you kind of want it to be all things to all men, and it never is. But I hope it's of some value. The idea that you should really decide what it is you hope to accomplish and write it down and go for it. So that is it, guys. I will talk to you next time. Keep them flying out there.